Hey everybody! In this month's gel press video, I'm going to show you a fun thing I discovered by accident in one of my live classes, and then a recreation where I turn kind of a mistake into something better. I have my 5x7 gel press here and some Ranger alcohol ink. And this is basically an exercise in creating a difference between the foreground and the background of an alcohol ink print. So the background will be kind of blurry almost, and the foreground will be very sharp. So you start by brayering some alcohol ink across the gel press, and you have to work fast because for this to work, the bottom layer needs to be wet. So while I was doing this live class in my class group that I started since the coronavirus, I was just doing this and I found that accidentally it created these cool little spots. So I put down a good thick layer of alcohol ink, and then I dropped drops of the colors in, and they formed these little halos around each dot, which I thought was really cool. So I kept doing it until the ink that is in the background on the plate was completely dry. So while it's still wet, you will see that there's going to be a difference in the color on the edge of these dots because it's reacting with the color that's in the background. And then as that first layer dries, you'll see when I add drops of just the turquoise or just the purple that they stay all one color and they don't form those little halos. So I just kept going until I had enough dots to kind of cover that whole area. And then you're going to want to let this completely dry. It's kind of fun to watch sped up because they expand a little bit. So I just left that footage in so that you can see sort of a time lapse of the way that those things develop. But definitely let it completely dry, especially the places where there's thicker ink. They will take longer to dry. Now you can see that there are no more shiny areas. It's completely dry. And I'm going to add some Liquitex Basics white paint. Now you need very, very little paint for this layer. So always a lot less than you think. Even though that didn't look like much paint, it's still way too much. Just really put a little dot, like English pea size dot on your plate. And then I'm just removing excess paint here on a blank sheet of paper. The best way to know when you have the right amount of paint is, can you see the design in alcohol ink through the paint? So when I get to that point, then I'm using a piece of ultra smooth copy paper to pick this print up with. Ideally, your plate wasn't cleaned from your last session, so it might even have some little fun painty bits in it. This process of putting alcohol down and putting paint on top of it will completely clean your paint. So the less clean your plate was to start with, the more interesting designs you'll get. You can see some previous little paint chips in mine, and I love that look. But this is the result that I got with that nice crisp foreground and the very soft, kind of blurry background, and I just love it. So I wanted to try it with the alcohol pearls, and I sped this up because I won't make you watch the whole thing, but basically I let it dry too much. The bottom layer, it was too thin a layer of ink, and it dried too quickly to really give me that nice defined dot that I wanted. You can see how it's sort of breaking up here. So I decided that I would just do something completely different, and I would add more ink. I do love this pearl. You can see the pearlescent parts here. It's a great looking ink. So I just added a bunch more of both colors. And then I took a HeroArt stencil and just sat it down in the wet ink. This is similar to my still stencil technique, that I'll link you to, except with alcohol ink and a gel press. Now again, you'll want this to dry. I didn't let mine completely dry. I let it mostly dry. So when I lifted up the stencil, there is a little bit of movement there, but I've captured that pattern, that real intricate stencil. And so now I'm going to let the plate completely dry and go through the same process to lift it. Again, way too much paint. Don't do what I'm doing here. Do what I'm telling you to do. English pea-sized thing of paint. I happen to like this Liquitex Basics. It has a little bit thicker texture than some of my other white paints. And to me, when I go to lift alcohol ink, this one works the best for me. It's also super economical. So pick some of that up if you get a chance. Now I'm removing the paint again, and I need to be able to see the pattern right there that you can see kind of in the middle, and that's how I know that it's ready to pick up. So just make sure that you make really, really good contact. Rub the paper for a long time before you lift it up so that every little bit of that design has really bonded with your copy paper. And then when you lift it up, we get the same effect, nice, soft, blurry background, but then you have the bright, very crisp and clean design of the stencil that you can see in the foreground. This would make an awesome journal page. You can see how shimmery it is with the alcohol pearls, and it's just so much fun. Thanks so much for watching.